What's the dumbest reason you've seen someone get sent to the commander? Private First Class Curtis Brennan got marched into the company commander's office for desecrating a symbol of American freedom. Sounds serious, right? Like he burned a flag or something. The reality was so much dumber. I was there when it happened. We were at Fort Lewis, doing a routine barracks inspection. First Sergeant Wade Hoffman was walking through, white glove treatment, looking for any excuse to smoke somebody. The guy lived for finding dust on windowsills. We get to Curtis's room, and everything's perfect. Bed made with hospital corners, boots lined up, wall locker organized like a department store. First Sergeant's actually looking disappointed because he can't find anything wrong. Then he opens Curtis's wall locker, and there it is, sitting on the top shelf. A small American flag folded into a triangle, propped against the back wall. Standard issue stuff, nothing weird about it, except Curtis had used it as a bookend. There was a stack of 3 military regulation manuals leaning against the folded flag to keep them upright. That's it. The flag was still folded correctly, still treated with respect, just being useful for once instead of sitting in a box somewhere. First Sergeant's face went purple. I could see the vein in his temple throbbing. "Brennan," he said, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage, "did you just use the American flag as furniture?" Curtis looked genuinely confused. "First Sergeant, it's just holding up my— I don't care what it's holding up. You're using the symbol of our nation as a common household item. That's disrespectful. That's unacceptable." I was standing at attention in the hallway trying not to laugh. The smell of floor wax and that industrial cleaner they use on everything was making my eyes water, but I could feel my lips twitching. This was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever witnessed. "Get your cover on!" First Sergeant barked. "You're going to see the commander, right now!" So Curtis grabbed his patrol cap, and we all marched down to Captain Donovan's office. The whole platoon knew what was happening within 5 minutes. By the time we got there, half the company was finding excuses to walk past the commander's door. Captain Donovan listened to First Sergeant's breathless explanation about flag desecration and disrespect. He looked at Curtis, looked at the First Sergeant, looked at the actual Army regulation manual sitting on his desk. "First Sergeant," he said slowly, "can you show me exactly which regulation prohibits using a folded ceremonial flag as a bookend in a private wall locker?" The silence was beautiful. I watched First Sergeant's face cycle through about 6 different emotions. Turns out there's no regulation against it. The flag wasn't being displayed improperly, it wasn't touching the ground, it wasn't being worn as clothing. It was just existing in a locker, touching some books. Captain Donovan dismissed Curtis without any punishment, told him to carry on and keep up the good work. First Sergeant walked out of that office looking like he'd swallowed a lemon. But here's the kicker. 3 weeks later, First Sergeant Hoffman got relieved of duty. Turns out the battalion commander had been receiving complaints about his leadership style for months. Excessive punishment, targeting soldiers for petty nonsense, creating a toxic environment. The flag incident was just the final straw that got the commander's attention. Curtis got promoted to specialist 2 months early. Captain Donovan wrote in his evaluation that he maintained professionalism and composure while being unjustly accused of misconduct. And the flag? Curtis still has it. Uses it as a bookend in his home office now. Says it's the most useful that flag has ever been.